under your belt, bro, that you helped out. I mean, that you've helped get contracts. I'm talking about you helped. I'm talking about Nate Clemens. I'm talking about Frank. I'm talking about Denzel Ward. Out of all the people you recruited, who's the most accomplished person that you've trained?
The most accomplished, I'm going to have to, see, depending on what you mean by that. You know, I'm a different type of dude. You know, football is a small part of it. If you're talking about from a football standpoint, I'm going to say it's a tough one. You know, I love me some Jordan Maben. You know, do you remember Jordan Maben?
I remember Jordan Maben.
Running back, DB, one other guy thought he was a running back. Just such a great kid. To watch what he accomplished just as a man, just so humble. And that speaks volume to me as well. But, you know, Nate Clemens, I mean, he was the first defensive back. He was the first highest paid DB in a long time. Like, he set the record. So that was a good accomplishment. But I'm going to have to, you know, I want to say Denzel Ward, because you lose your father. Right before all this, your dad died in the most. That moment could have crushed him, but it didn't. But I gotta give it to Frank. I gotta give it to Frank, because Frank Clark. I watched him. We would try. You know, we was at Northfield Road in Warrensville, right? The force. Frank didn't know how to catch that bus. Frank lived on Evangeline over by Collinwood, right? So Frank didn't know how to catch that bus, but he caught the freaking bus, right? And he would catch that bus, and it would end him over on Harvard and Northfield, right? So he's on Harvard and Warrensville Center Road. He would have to walk all the way from there, all the way down to Emory, right? That's a long walk by itself, let alone a long walk in a freaking blizzard. Because you know how Northeast Ohio, Cleveland's got, it's snowing. He did not care. So one day I'm driving, okay, I live in Shaker, right? So I'm driving over and I see Frank walking. I said, Becky, that's Frank. Becky said, pick him up. So I'm like, all right, I'm like, all right, man, I don't want to be late. But she said, pick him up. So I said, Frank, come on, get in the car. He said, who that? I said, Coach Frank. Oh, Coach Mark. He said, I'm good. I said, Frank, get in the car, boy. It's cold. He said, Coach Mark, this my journey. This my journey. He said, I'm good, Coach Mark, and I'm going to be there before everybody else. And Frank would be there 20 minutes for everybody else, making sure everything. I think he had a little bit of OCD, really. He did certain things. It was always a certain way. And that pattern, he knew. Frank, I've dropped him off. Now, he'll let me take him home. He walked there, but I could take him home. And I took him home a couple of times. Every time I took him home, it was a mess. It was something at that home. And so the his foundation wasn't good at all. You know, good people, but just things were off kilter. And so, you know, for all he's been through, and then when he gets to the league, his father burns up in that funeral. I mean, in that house fire. His uncle, the kids. Only person who survived was his auntie. All he's done is lost every time he tried to gain. You know, and he still persevering. He's still persevering. And, you know, for a minute, him and I had a little bit of falling out because I didn't feel like I was getting the love back. And him and I talked about that. But there was a lot going on in a young man's life that he's being developed and molded and sculpted. And so, you know, to see him overcome those things and still come back and rebuild the relationship with me and to still go ahead and achieve on the football field, to get paid $100 million, you know, and stay after it. When most kids in Cleveland, Ohio, and most hoods, period, would have not, it would have been just too much for him to still persevere and make it. I got to give it to Frank. And that's not discrediting any of the other guys. There's more stories, but I got to give it to Frank.
Man, amazing, man. Thanks for sharing that, Mark. Thanks for sharing that. I have a whole new respect for Frank. You know what I'm saying? I always respected him as an athlete, but man, that's amazing, man. That's amazing. That's amazing.